A, do human beings inherently are prejudiced? 2, why we become prejudiced or we do discriminate? And number 3, what's the solution, what we can do? Hello everyone, this is Micah Petrosian again with American Brand. In this video, I'd like to speak to you about 2 very important subjects that right now we're all consumed by it. Number 1, are you prejudiced? And also, do you discriminate? What I like to do, I like to go ahead and speak to you about A, do human beings inherently are prejudiced? 2, why we become prejudiced or we do discriminate? And number 3, what's the solution, what we can do? So I want to talk to you about facts, and I want to talk to you, bring some truth to it, and also I like to help you to do some critical thinking. If you like our content, we are a new channel. Please go ahead and subscribe and share. So let's get into it. Question number 1 is, are you prejudiced? Do human beings inherently are prejudiced? So let's look at an example. I want to give you an example so we can start from there and to see what the reality is. You see, the system that exists needs for us to be divided, divide and conquer. Because if we all live in a harmony and if we all live united, they're not going to be able to control. They're not going to be able to make money. So, for example, right now with all this chaos that is going on, who makes most of the amount of money? News, cable TV. Why? Because the more we kill each other, the more we hate each other, the more we bring chaos to our communities and cities, the higher the rating. And if the rating is higher, that means they make a lot of money. So, I want to give you an example. Today, the system wants to divide. So what they do, black versus white, white versus Hispanic, Hispanic versus black, Democrat versus Republican, Jews versus Christian, Muslim versus Christian, so all different type of scenarios just to make sure that we are divided. But as a human being, we don't born like this. We become, to a point that we become prejudiced or we do discriminate. But as a human being, we are not. Let me give you an example. If today you take 2-year-old kids and you put all of them in one room, Democrat, Republican, black, white, Hispanic, Asian, Jew, Christian, Muslim, you put all these kids from different background and different race in one room, 2-year-old kids. Guess what's going to happen? They all going to play. The 2-year-old kid doesn't understand black, white, Democrat, Republican. But what happens is that as we grow and we get into this, to the system, our environment and the society start teaching us this behavior that we have to discriminate. And there is a prejudice. See, one thing that we all have to understand, every single person, regardless of your race, gender, or your political preference, you all discriminate. All of us. Why? Because we live in a world that people that are successful, they have a different life. People that are not successful, okay, they have a total different life. Now, if you look at the history of human beings, there are always rich and poor. There is rich and poor. They will be rich and poor. The reason for that is because without that, the system cannot exist. Now, I want to give you a few examples of what's going on. Let's say we talk about, for example, we talk about LeBron James. Just as an example. LeBron James, he's an extremely successful athlete, basketball player. The entire world knows him. He was born as a poor kid. He had a talent. He used his talent. Today, his net worth is over $500 million with B. $500 million, right? Question is, when LeBron James, he moved from Cleveland to come to Los Angeles, play for Lakers. Did he go and buy a property in, let's say, in a black neighborhood, predominantly Inglewood or Compton, or he went and he paid $22 million, bought a house in the most expensive neighborhood in Los Angeles, predominantly white neighborhood? Why? Because you have to understand something. When you don't have money, when you are poor, you see and you feel discrimination. You feel the prejudice towards you. Why? Because you don't have money. Because you are poor. But the reality is that the moment you wake up and you realize that you need to change your life and you go after your success, the moment you become successful, all of that vanishes. How? LeBron James today, he plays for Lakers. He lives in a white neighborhood, very rich neighborhood. LeBron James, he has black friends, white friends, Hispanic friends, and Asian friends. He does business with all kind of different people. And guess what? Everybody loves him. The white, black, Hispanic, Asian, Chinese, whatever you name it, they all love him. They cheer for him. They want to be friend with him. They want to take a picture with him. They want to do a business with him. Why? Because when you become successful and when you have money, with money comes success and power. Then, in that level, you don't feel discrimination. You don't feel prejudice. Why? Because everything stops there. Because as a human being, people, they always look for strong people. As a human being, you always look up to successful people. Now, the point about this whole situation that we're going through, there is certain facts that it exists, but people, they don't pay attention. For example, if today your government officials your senators, your congressmen, even people they want to run for presidency, they make comments that we care about all different types of people. We care about poor people. We care about underprivileged people. It's all a lie. Look, politicians, they would lie. Politicians, they would sell their mother if they have to, just to get their vote. For example, today, there is this very wrong mindset that there are two parties in the United States. We have Republicans and we have Democrats. Republicans are for rich, Democrats are for poor. That's how they show themselves. But let's think about it for a moment. Why is it that when it comes to Democrats, they always try their very best to associate them to say, we care about poor people, we fight for poor people, and they always associate, they said, okay, we have to get Hispanics and black votes. For the past 50, 60 years, most blacks and Hispanics, they vote Democrat. But the point is here, you have to sit and think for a moment what they have done for you by you voting Democrat. Okay, this video is not about whether I'm Republican or Democrat. All it is, I'm trying to bring you facts and truth and help you to think intelligently, to have really some idea of what's going on right now, to have some critical thinking. So if truly Democrats, they care about black people and they care about Hispanic people, why they are not truly bring programs and invest truly in those neighborhoods, when there is a lot of drugs, there is a lot of violence in those neighborhoods, and those neighborhoods are suffering. You see, they say that if you are poor, you have to vote Democrat. But the problem is here, why do you even have to think as a poor? Because as long as you are poor, as long as they tell you you are a victim, as long as they manipulate you so you stay on food stamp and welfare, as long as they can do that, they will control you. But what if you change your mind? What if you say, I don't want it to be called poor. I am an intelligent person, and start changing your life and become successful and have money. Then they cannot control you. You see, here's where all the problems starts. If you become intelligent, to become independent and successful, the government, the system, they cannot control you, which is bad. Now, the bigger problem is that when we talk about, police brutality, when we talk about all these problems that we're facing today, is because there is no accountability. You see, the system wants tribalism. Democrats hate Republican, and black hates white and Hispanic, and Jews hate Muslim, Muslim hate Christian, all of that, because the only way they can completely control us by dividing us, by continuously bring that chaos to divide and conquer. Because if you stay united, they cannot control you. Now, I want to talk to you about a few things. Let's say we talk about police brutality. Okay, so do you honestly think the police brutality happens only if you are a black person? No. I was faced with police brutality 3 times. 3 times. Over what? A routine traffic stop. Twice for speeding and once for a U-turn. Imagine that you get stopped for a speeding, right? So if in fact you did do a speeding, the law says the police officer comes, they ask for your driver's license, they ask for your insurance. You have all the right to say, may I ask why did you pull me over? For whatever reason they say. Again, when you sign your citation, you're not admitting to the guilt, because of our Constitution says what? You are innocent until proven guilty. So, twice for speeding, once for U-turn. Police brutality, the way they talk to me, the way they pulled me out of my car, the way they searched my car. So, but what I didn't take this as I am a victim. I went and complained, wrote letters, and did whatever I could do within the system to make sure they understand that there was a police brutality. And 2 cases I won. One of the cases I went to the Supreme Court and I didn't win, but guess what happened? That police officer that he did abuse his power, 2 years later they called me as a witness because he had so many complaints, so they wanted to fire him. Now, why am I telling you this? Because you have to remember something. When the police officer finishes the police academy, they take an oath to protect and serve, to uphold the Constitution of the United States. The reason the police officers, they abuse their power and they start harassing and do whatever they have to do is because there is not enough accountability. In other words, if there is a system that if a police officer has 3 legitimate complaints that he abused his or her power and he did police brutality, that officer has to be fired. But guess what? When they do stuff like that and they get away with it, then what happens? That becomes a norm. Therefore, when one police officer does police brutality, all he gets slap on the hand, then he says, okay, so if I do that, all it's going to happen, maybe I get some yelling from my superior and that's it. So that continues and becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. Now, can we say here that every single police officer is bad? Absolutely not. I do have police officers that they're incredible people. But do I say that all of them are good or all of them are bad? No. There is no such a thing. We have to look at it and say, listen, we have to ask, we have to completely put pressure on mayor, on police department to have accurate accountability on the police officers so these things doesn't happen. When you have senators, when you have congressmen and congresswomen, they are obsolete. They are disgraceful because they don't do anything. All they do, they lie and they want your vote. Right? Let me ask you a question. Why is it that the President of the United States can serve only 2 terms? But congressmen and women or senator, they can go on and on and on. Look at our Congress, look at our senators right now. These people are in power for the past 40 years. This is not a joke. 40 years. Now, do you think when that person that he has all the energy and he has all these ideas that wants to help people, that truly wants to make a change, becomes a congressman, and they go and they do 10% what they promised, they get reelected, they do 5% what they promised, after that they don't do anything. Why do you think we have all these problems? Because there is no accountability. A congressman or a woman or a senator, just like the president, they must serve only 2 terms. You know why? Because if they serve only 2 terms max, you will not have corruption. You will not have all these problems. The problem comes when they get comfortable. In every aspect of life, if there is no accountability, then there is a problem. If a police officer who abuses his or her power, if they truly get severe discipline the first time, chances for them to repeat the second time is very low. But when nothing happens, or very minimum things happen, they will do it again and again and again until it becomes such a huge problem. And they do what? They can kill people, they can get away, they can do criminal act, they can get away. Why? Because there is no accountability. Same thing with the senator, same things with your congress people. If they know they can max only serve 2 terms, they will do their best to make sure they get reelected. But if there is no limitation, the most difficult time is for them to get reelected. After that is home free. Nobody does anything. There is no accountability. Why? Because they have a lavish lifestyle, they make money, they travel all over the world with the taxpayers' money, they have houses, they make a lot of money, they get a lot of donations, they walk in as a congressman or woman with $10 in their pocket. 40 years later, they are multi-millionaires. What they have done? Nothing. So you see, everything comes to accountability. You have to, all of us together, we have to keep government officials, police department, whatever it is, accountable so we can have the true change that we desire for it. We all want the change, but you have to have accountability. And the same way, when you go to a black neighborhood or a Hispanic neighborhood, you see all these problems, you guys have to remember the government is not going to do anything for you. Never did, never will. Government is not going to do anything for you. What you have to do, you have to keep your local officials completely responsible so they can help you to clean and clear your communities, to bring right education, to bring what? Look, the media wants to make everything politics. Why? Because the more hate among people, the more hate towards to each other, their rating is high. Because media is nothing but a lie. Look, you have to understand, the more we fight, the more we die. The media, the news, it's going to make money. Big corporation, they're going to make money. Look at right now, just right now, with this whole COVID-19 situation. I lost money. You lost money. Businesses are getting completely destroyed. But guess who made money? Look at this. Amazon, Target, and Walmart. They literally announced 75% increase of revenue. How is it possible? We are losing our shirts over here, but they made 75% more money. So you have to understand, divide and conquer. So the more we hate each other, the more we do all this nonsense, they make money, we get more poor. They live comfortable, we'll have problems. So you have to understand, in order to do a change, you have to keep your government official absolutely responsible and accountable to do the changes. You need to reform the Congress and Senate in a sense that they can serve only 2 terms, no more. If you have a police department, you have to keep mayors and chief of police responsible. They have to reform, and they have to educate the police officers that if you do three complaints, what's going to happen is you are going to be fired. See, when you have accountability, everything will change. Everything. Because only when we realize that we need to change, the change starts from the first person. Michael Jackson had a very famous song years ago that came from a very, very old Chinese philosophy, which is what? The change starts within, not without. Michael Jackson had a song, it says, if you want to change, change start with the man in the mirror. So look at yourself in the mirror. If you want to change, the change starts with you. If you want to change your community change, if you want to change your environment, it starts with you. You have to decide the change, because the moment you change, the moment you become successful, when you get to the top, everything changes. There is no more discrimination, there is no more, prejudice, because you have the money. Because you have to understand, when I give an example of LeBron James, I'm not trying to say he does something wrong. More power to him. I'm very proud of him that he's a very, successful person. But that's the reality. You need to wake up. Nothing's going to change if you think government is going to come, if you think Democrats, they're going to come and they're going to fix your cities and they're going to change everything. They're going to say, oh, you know what? You guys are nice people. We're going to go ahead and do this for you and that for you. Nothing's going to change. The fact is that we all have to do our part. We need to realize that we need to have a change, but the change does not come on its own. Government does not care about you, never did, never will. You need to care about yourself, educate yourself so you can have health education, financial education, so you can eat better and you can make money, become independent, so you can have a better life. And collectively, all of us together, when we do this, then everything will start change. Otherwise, nothing is going to change. So I hope that this video gives you something to think about. Again, this video, it's not political. It's not about, saying I am Republican or I am Democrat. It's not about whether or not all the police are bad. This is not about you do or you don't discriminate, because everybody does. Everybody does to the certain degree. But the point is here that we all live together. We all coexist together. We can have a much better understanding by thinking critically and understanding that only by taking a responsibility, then everything will change. Thank you so much for watching the video.